SMT Nation, we back. In this video, we're going to discuss this topic, kind of part two of the video that I just did yesterday. AT&T's got a complaint, and it's about T-Mobile, saying that they have too much 5G spectrum. All right, so in and of itself, this is essentially just a competition jockeying complaint. AT&T clearly is identifying T-Mobile as a threat. This confirms AT&T's weakness and T-Mobile's strength. All right, so they're publicly trying to sully whatever T-Mobile's momentum in terms of what they've got going on right now. Okay, so let's go through this. Does T-Mobile have too much 5G spectrum? They have 600 megahertz low band, right? That's 5G spectrum. They use a little bit for LTE. It's no different than the same position that, say, for example, like Verizon or AT&T has. In fact, one would argue that T-Mobile has the least amount of low band. Okay, so they've got like 5 megahertz of band 26 from the Sprint merger. All right, so really, the other carriers typically have more low band in most cases. In some counties, it's probably different, but most of the time, this is the case. Okay, they have 160 megahertz national or more of N41. That's where there's a strength position for T-Mobile, right? With the Sprint merger, the 2.5 gigahertz is the lifeblood of their 5G UC. T-Mobile also has enough PCS for two companies. They've got their own band 2, and then they got the Sprint band 25. So those really are the two things where T-Mobile has the advantage, and they are through the merger with Sprint. Okay, they showed up to the Spectrum auction. I think it was 104, 103, or 105. I forget, whatever CBRS was. All right, that's the frequency is 3550. T-Mobile showed up there and bought Spectrum. Verizon showed up there and bought Spectrum. AT&T didn't buy any Spectrum in CBRS. They don't even deploy any gear for the unlicensed version of it. T-Mobile has DoD licenses, right? 3450. AT&T was there. They bought the most they could. Verizon didn't buy any. Dish bought some. All right, C-band licenses. T-Mobile bought some, right? 3700 frequency. Verizon was there and bought a ton. AT&T was there and bought a lot. I'm still trying to figure out the problem here. Millimeter wave, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile have bought a lot, upwards of 1,000 megahertz across the country and different frequencies. I don't see what the problem is here. Every carrier has been to all these auctions. Most recently, and what this really is about here, this AT&T complaint, is the 2.5 gigahertz that they got in those white space licenses in auction 108. AT&T was at this auction. So was Verizon. Verizon walked away with some licenses, actually, in some random places. Alaska and then some other places. But T-Mobile got the rest of it. Why shouldn't they? All the rules that were at these auctions that were put forth by the FCC, all the companies were subjected to. T-Mobile didn't do anything wrong. They followed the rules and the guidelines set for the auction by the FCC, and they successfully bid on licenses just like the others did. The only thing that is a separator here is the T-Mobile and Sprint merger. That's the only thing. And this particular complaint is about 2.5 gigahertz spectrum. I just want to throw this in there. T-Mobile is a rapidly growing mobile ISP. They have customers to serve. They are a growing home ISP competing with cable and fiber and other providers. This is a very slippery slope for anyone that is trying to, insinuate that regulators need to look into the T-Mobile position. What are you trying to regulate here, right? You're going to regulate what they've legally done in all these auctions? Are you going to go back and address the T-Mobile and Sprint merger? It's way beyond that, right? T-Mobile has violated no rules. They haven't done anything wrong. They have literally just capitalized on every opportunity that has come their way. All their mergers were approved and regulated. The Metro PCS merger, the failed AT&T merger. Okay, let's not forget about that, right? The merger with Sprint, the CBRS auction, the millimeter wave auctions, the C-band auction, the DoD auction, the 2.5 gigahertz white space auction. They have followed the guidelines and the rules set by those events. Verizon and AT&T and Dish were at these auctions. Verizon spent huge money at these auctions. AT&T spent huge money at these auctions. AT&T has FirstNet, where they got that additional 10 by 10, bandwidth to the low band and band 14. AT&T outright tried to buy T-Mobile 10 years ago and failed, effectively creating this new version of T-Mobile. They had to give them money in the count of billions of dollars. They had to give them some band 12, 5 megahertz national. They had to give them national network access, roaming agreement for like 6-7 years. That's AT&T's fault. That was the greedy Randall Stevenson era, right? Regulators wanted a stronger third competitor out of this merger. They basically said, if we're going to have this merger, we need consumers to have a stronger third competitor. And that's what they got, a stronger third competitor. To go back and think that now you have to regulate what you created would make them look ridiculous and stupid. If anybody should have any problems with any carrier, it should be with Dish, who essentially Spectrum squatted for the better part of the last decade. The FCC and regulators should be looking to enable them, to give them a chance to compete against the big three carriers, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. And yes, we call T-Mobile a big carrier now. They are not the scrappy underdog that they complain to and cry about in front of regulators. They are the big bad carrier that they act like in front of investors. I'm not here to protect T-Mobile, and I'm not here to protect AT&T or Verizon or any of these companies. We're on the outside looking in as consumers. These are the facts. T-Mobile has not done anything wrong. They have simply executed on all the things they have legally been able to do. You can make the argument that, yes, they eliminated Sprint, but Sprint was failing and doing nothing for the consumer. They really weren't. They were not offering a good network experience. They were not growing as a network. They were only good in certain markets. They were not a national provider. They would be getting chewed up and spit out by the big two right now. And so would T-Mobile. So what are we really complaining about here? There's some people are speculating that maybe this is AT&T jockeying for position for a future, with maybe acquiring Dish. Are we talking about 4 to 5 or 6 or 7 years from now? Is that really what this is about? AT&T trying to set precedent for some kind of power move half a decade from now or more? I just don't see that being the case. And regulators aren't really going to be in the mood to let more mergers happen, right? Every so often, mergers are occurring. You start to see consolidation within the marketplace. They're not going to facilitate more national mergers. If anything, and this is just my proposal, if anything, the only thing that should be regulated for T-Mobile should be spectrum that they don't deploy. If the FCC or any other governing bodies needs to go in and say, look, you're not deploying your CBRS, we're taking it from you. You're not deploying your mmWave, we're taking it from you. We're going to auction those assets off. I'm in support of that. But I am not in the support of backtracking and re-regulating things. Because as of right now, Verizon still has the most subscribers. AT&T still is the big bad wolf when it comes to wireline. And they still grow in wireless. I don't see a problem in the competitive space in wireless and mobile networking. I just don't see it. Do I wish that Dish was more impactful? Sure. And they need capital. They just need money. They just need to build the network and have competitive rates in retail. That's all they really need. They just need to execute. And if it takes them 5 or 10 years, so be it. But they just have to compete. They have to be what T-Mobile was. They have to do those same things, whatever it takes. Verizon sat there and consumed regional carriers for the better part of a decade. I was one of them. I was one of the customers on Altel, right? I mean, I've had a Verizon line for a long time, right? I've had Verizon account for a long time, but I was originally with Altel. Bluegrass, right? All these regional access players. AT&T literally consumed carriers. AT&T consumed companies for the better part of the last over 100 years. We got to keep the same energy here, folks. You can't have the big bad wolf crying wolf selling wolf tickets about T-Mobile. Again, I am not protecting T-Mobile. I'm not in the business of protecting corporations who literally lie through their teeth and steal and cheat, all in the name of greed. But it makes no sense to support this AT&T complaint, regardless of the terms and the means. T-Mobile has done nothing wrong, right? And this is falling on deaf ears. Nobody's going to entertain this. This is not effective. This will not work. In fact, all it is just poor execution and horrible insight. In fact, whoever did this at AT&T, you are a joke. Whoever thought this was going to be a good idea and this was actually going to come of something, I don't think they actually believe it. I don't think they believe this was going to do anything. Anything was going to come of this. No way. No way. Because then it's basically a slap to the face of the regulators who oversee these activities. Why didn't AT&T do something about the Sprint and T-Mobile merger? They didn't say anything then. I don't remember them saying a damn thing. Why didn't they say anything at these auctions? Why are they talking about 2.5 gigahertz today? Right? Why are they so bent out of shape today? I mean, I know they complained a little bit earlier, but they didn't make that big of a stink. And even so, like, what is it? They're adding, 37 megahertz of white space licenses where nobody else was using it. How does that impact the competitive landscape of mobile network operators? Seriously? What does AT&T have DSL in those places? Are they pissed that they might lose their DSL customers to to T-Mobile 5G home internet? Good. Good, AT&T, good. Sweat a little bit. Put some fiber there. You lazies. Or you're trying to raise all this capital, right, from other companies and other people's money. Execute. Do something. Do something, you lazies. I'm telling you, man. This stuff, you can't make this stuff up. AT&T is the company that tried to consume T-Mobile 10 years ago. And look what has happened to them. Completely backfired. The ghost of Randall lives on. Zero Cool knows what I'm talking about. Guys, go ahead and comment on all these items on my commentary. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on this. Let me know where you stand. Let me know what you think about these things. Love to hear what you have to say. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Also like to throw in, Verizon doesn't even care. They're too busy handling their own business. They could have said something before if they wanted to, and they didn't because they don't care, and that's fine. And one more idea before I close out the show, this episode. I would like to say that if there was a situation where there was going to be some form of regulations, you could force T-Mobile to have to form MVNOs, to have to serve MVNOs, because they've been really bad about that lately. Say, hey, you're gonna have to do this or give up this. Just give them concessions then, right? But you had to do it then, not now, right? If things do get out of hand in the future, you can address that at a later time, right? You can open up those things then. Anyways, those are just some of the thoughts I had. But go ahead and comment down below what you guys think of all these things. Like, share, and subscribe for more. Turn on the bell notification icon to never miss an upload. Links are in the description for all things going on with the channel. Leave with some words of positivity. Every new day is an opportunity to be great. So go out there and be great, SMT Nation. We'll see you all in the next one. Peace.